Hello Hylians, this is what every dragon part in Zelda Breath of the Wild is used for, exactly what they all do, and the best places to farm them. And yes, there are individual videos for each one, so there might be some repetition on some information. And check the links in the description for the individual video or the timestamps for this video. First, some general things about dragon parts. You may already know that there's 3 dragons, Farosh, Dinraal, and Naydra. Each dragon can drop 4 different parts. Fangs if you hit them in the mouth, horns if you hit them on the horn, claws if you hit them on the claw, and scales if you hit them anywhere on the body or face. And usually the moment you hit them, they'll fly back into the sky. Also keep in mind that you can only do this once, and in order to do it again, you would have to wait till the dragon respawns again. Speaking of spawning, Naydra usually spawns from the top of Mount Lanayru and travels down the Lanayru Promenade, turns the corner towards Rabia Plain, back to and through the Lanayru Bay, then goes back home into the sky. And Naydra won't be available to farm for parts until you free her from the Malice on top of Mount Lanayru. So if you haven't done this, go to the top of Mount Lanayru, shoot the eyes of the Malice, then shoot Naydra anywhere on its body for a scale. And the scale is used to open up the shrine on top of the mountain. For cooking, no matter which dragon, each part adds a specific amount of time to a dish. Each scale cooked adds 1 minute and 30 seconds to a dish, each claw cooked adds 3 minutes and 30 seconds, each fang adds 10 minutes and 30 seconds, and cooking a horn makes the dish last 30 minutes. That's the highest a buff can go for, making horns one of the most useful materials. Unless you're trying to collect them, the main reason you probably need Naydra parts would be to upgrade some gear. You need 2 horns for Champion's Tunic's 3rd upgrade, you need 2 scales for the Snow Boots' 4th upgrade, 1 horn for the Barbarian legs. For the Fierce Deity armor, you need 1 scale for the 1st upgrade, 1 claw for the 2nd, 1 fang for the 3rd, and 1 horn for the 4th. And the Tunic of the Wild is the same thing as the Fierce Deity armor, but instead you'll need 2 of each part. So that's a total of 5 scales, 3 fangs, 3 claws, and 6 horns. And that's all I got for what the parts do. Now for farming Naydra parts. Like most people know, the best place to farm Naydra parts is by the Lanayru Road East Gate. But the biggest problem with this method is that when you shoot Naydra parts will fly all the way down the promenade. So if you want to get the part, you'd have to travel all the way over there, probably defeat some enemies, climb up if it goes in the water, then head all the way back and repeat. That's the most annoying part. There is a chance for the parts to drop on the mountainside, but you'll never know. I found a way to make that happen. I'll explain first how to farm Naydra, then I'll talk about some problems you may come across. The best way to get the East Gate is probably to go to the top of Mount Lanayru and wind bomb there. If you don't know how to wind bomb, you can check the card in the corner or the link in the description on my short video on how to do it. But if you're still having problems, you can travel to the shrine under the waterfall in the promenade, then just run there. And as a small note, there is a Lynel here if you don't know, so you probably want to get rid of it. And of course, if you need help fighting Lynels, check the card in the corner or the link in the description for my video explaining how to defeat them easily. The specific place I would stay is here on top of this little mountaintop. Place some wood here, sit until morning, and Naydra should appear from the top of Mount Lanayru. Now you do have to wait till Naydra gets close, which is the boring part. But as soon as Naydra creates an updraft, ride it and shoot whichever part you want to get. Each part will fall in one of these 2 places, on the cliff on your side of the promenade, or somewhere on that area on the other side of the promenade. Then sit till morning, then repeat. Obviously this is better than all the parts flying down the promenade, but also, since you're shooting Naydra, Naydra will fly away and you don't have to worry about getting frozen from Naydra's freeze attack thing. Also, this is faster since you're shooting her sooner than you normally would. And speaking of faster, to maximize your speed, after you shoot Naydra, as soon as the part flies off of Naydra, you can sit until morning. Naturally, you're going to want to see where it lands before sitting, but if you sit till morning, you can still see where it flies. You'll shave off a few seconds by doing this. Also, very important, you must wait until the part flies off of Naydra. If you shoot Naydra, then sit right away, the part will come off but will drop straight down. This sounds like a good idea, but for some reason, the part will disappear. The next thing you should do is wait before picking up the part. You may want to go get the part, then go back, but it will stay there until you leave the area or pick them up. So leave them there and farm whichever parts you want, then you can go get them all. I tried to see what the most amount of parts you can leave on the ground, but I stopped after 33. So if you're crazy enough to keep going until you get more than 30, then go pick them up, then continue. I did this with Farosh and I wound up having 39 being the most, so it might be the same for Naydra. First, having a good long-range bow will help. The two best bows would be to use the Twilight Bow or the Bow of Light. They basically have infinite range. You can only get the Bow of Light by using a really long glitch which makes you start the game over, but when you start over you'll have almost any items you want, including the Bow of Light. If you want to learn this, I biasly recommend Cleric or Limcube's video explaining how to do it. Links in the description. You can get the Twilight Bow by the Zelda Smash amiibo. If you have the amiibo, I have a video explaining how to basically choose which amiibo drops you want. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description. The next best bow would be the Ancient Bow, which the book says it has a range of 50. The Ancient Bow can be bought from the Alcala Tech Lab. You'll need 50 Ancient Springs, 10 Ancient Gears, 1 Giant Core. And of course you get Ancient Parts by defeating Guardians. And if you need help getting Giant Ancient Cores, I have a video on that too. Link. And the next best bows after that have a 40 range. That would be the Swallow Bow, Falcon Bow, Great Eagle Bow, Duplex Bow, and Phrenic Bow. The Swallow Bow can be found in the Rito Village by Hearth, and also in the Flight Shooting Range. There's a few chests in Hebra that have the Falcon Bow. Link receives the Great Eagle Bow after defeating Windblade Ganon, and you can get a new one also from Hearth if you have a Swallow Bow, Diamond, and Wood. Duplex bows can easily be found in Kurusa Valley. Just go to the shrine and walk to the Yiga hideout and a foot soldier will surprise you. And a Phrenic Bow can be found in many treasures around Hyrule, but if you've got all the treasures, you can also get it from this bokoblin just south of Hateno Tower. Every other bow, you just have to eyeball your shots. If Naydra doesn't show, it might happen, I don't know why. You can try a couple things like saving and reloading, closing the game, reloading, or even leaving and fast traveling back to the shrine and then travel back to that spot. If it rains, you can drop down the mountain and drop wood under the gate. You can place a fire there. The gate will prevent the fire from going out. If it rains, what I would do is wait till Naydra gets close, shoot Naydra, then drop down to the gate. Again, I'm trying to save a few seconds by doing things while I'm waiting. I time myself and it takes about 1 minute and 40 seconds for each one, so that means it takes about 15 minutes to get 9 parts. For some general things about dragon parts, each dragon parts drop 4 different parts. Fangs if you hit them in the mouth, horns if you hit them in the horn, claws if you hit them in the claw, or scales if you hit them anywhere in the body or face. And usually the moment you hit them, they will fly back into the sky. Also keep in mind that you can only do this once. And to do it again, you'd have to do it after the dragon respawns. For cooking, no matter which dragon, each part adds a specific amount of time to a dish. Each scale cooked adds 1 minute and 30 seconds to a dish. Each claw cooked adds 3 minutes and 30 seconds to a dish. Each fang adds 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And cooking horns makes a dish last 30 minutes. That's the highest a buff can go for, making horns one of the most useful material. But the main reason you'd need Dinraal parts would be to upgrade some gear. You need 2 horns for the Champion's Tunic's 4th upgrade, 1 horn for the Barbarian Helm's 4th upgrade. For the Fierce Deity Mask, 1 scale is needed for the 1st upgrade, 1 claw is needed for the 2nd, 1 fang is needed for the 3rd, and 1 horn is needed for the 4th. And for the Trousers of the Wild, it's the same like the Fierce Deity Mask, but instead you'll need 2 of each part. So that's a total of 3 scales, 3 fangs, 3 claws, and 6 horns. You also need the scale to open the shrine at the Spring of Power. Before I explain the best locations, there's a few things that's important that you should know. When a dragon part flies off a dragon, you can sit by a fire, and when Link unsits, the dragon part will still be there. This is important because you would want to leave that part where it is and shoot the dragon for another part and continue doing this until you're ready to leave and pick up all the parts all at once. But it's important to know that you can sit by the fire as soon as the part flies off the dragon. It will continue to fly when you unsit. If you sit by the fire before the dragon part flies off, the dragon part will for whatever reason be unpickupable. A good method to farm Dinraal would be to have Flame Guard up in case you get burnt by Dinraal. Also, to make a campfire with 4 wood, this way you can use the updraft from as far away as needed depending on your bow. And also, to obviously sit until the next day. And Dinraal seems to spawn from the sky in this location, then flies all the way down the valley. And if you sit by a fire anywhere along its path, Dinraal will spawn close by, not always at the beginning of its path. So when I was recommended locations, I wanted to pick a spot where the dragon parts will fall consistently in the same location. This way I can pick up all the parts at once. For the best spots to farm Dinraal, I won't go into too much detail, but the way I found out which is the best spot was to go to the locations recommended to me, and I timed how long it would take until Dinraal came close enough to create an updraft. The reason I didn't time when Dinraal came close enough to shoot at, it's because it depends on what kind of bow you have, and there's no real way to determine how far Dinraal is. I should also mention that Dinraal doesn't always spawn. I don't know how to make sure it always does. Sometimes I just save, close the game, reload, and cross my fingers. Or sometimes I just go to a new location. Or sometimes I just give up and try another time. So the places I tested were by the foot race, by this DLC shrine, on the Tabantha Bridge, all the way to the north by the Elden Great Skeleton, down a little farther by the Lionel, and a little farther down to the west, and at the bottom of Hebra Tower. I timed all of them, and the most consistent ones were the DLC Shrine, the Tabantha Bridge, and the Leviathan Bones. The one by the DLC Shrine was okay, which averaged about 1 minute and 29 seconds, but you can't always see if Dinraal will spawn. So the Tabantha Bridge and the Leviathan Bones seem to be the best, but they have pros and cons. Sitting at the Leviathan Bones is actually the best spot, especially if you have a bow that shoots far. Once you think Dinraal is close enough, just shoot and the parts will drop in the same spots. And you can easily collect them all when you're done. The problem with this spot is that it's a little annoying to get to, and Dinraal doesn't consistently spawn here. I've gotten here many times and there was no Dinraal. The Tabantha Bridge I've done many times. I keep sitting and Dinraal will almost always spawn. There have been a good handful of times where Dinraal won't spawn, but sitting again a few times usually works. If not, I just leave. The bad part about this location is when the parts land, they will land in various locations and it's possible to lose dragon parts you've shot. By the way, the clip that I showed you in the beginning is something that randomly happened, and I don't think you can make this happen again. But if you know how, let us know. First of all, for cooking, no matter which dragon part, each part adds specific amount of time to the dish. Each scale cooked adds 1 minute and 30 seconds to a dish. Each claw cooked adds 3 minutes and 30 seconds to a dish. Each fang adds 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And cooking a horn makes the dish last 30 minutes. This is the highest time any bonus can go for, making horns one of the most useful materials, and the reason why you'd want to farm Farosh a lot. Not only that, but horns sell for 300 rupees each, and because we'll be farming these quickly, which I'll mention later, this is one of the best and easiest ways to farm for rupees in the game. You can get about 7,000 rupees every 10 minutes. Another reason you would want to farm Farosh parts would be to upgrade some gear. You do need 2 horns for the Champion's Tunic's 2nd upgrade, 1 horn for the Barbarian Chest's 4th upgrade. For the Fierce Deity legs, you do need 1 scale for the 1st upgrade, 1 claw for the 2nd, 1 fang for the 3rd, and 1 horn for the 4th. And the Cap of the Wild, you'll need 2 scales for the 1st upgrade, 2 claws for the 2nd, 2 fangs for the 3rd, and 2 horns for the 4th. So that's a total of 3 scales, 3 fangs, 3 claws, and 6 horns. You do also need a scale to open a shrine in the Spring of Courage. This is behind the Serpent's Jaw in north of the Faron Woods. Now, for farming Farosh parts, I'll quickly explain the best method, then I'll talk about some details, answer some common questions, and explain why I do the things the way I do them, with the last notes being the most important ones. There are 3 places that Farosh spawns: above the Gerudo Highlands, out of Lake Hylia, and in the Faron Woods. The best place is in Faron Woods, and specifically in this location, the Riola Spring. It's best to fast travel to the shrine underneath the waterfall and use the Zora armor to swim up the waterfall. Go to the left side, drop a bundle of wood, make a fire, sit until morning. You do have to wait a few seconds for Farosh to appear, so you might as well light the fire again. And as soon as the updraft starts, ride the updraft and shoot whichever part you want, most likely horns. Wait for the part to fly, then you can sit by the fire. Repeat this as much as you want. Now for some important details. If you don't have the Zora armor to go up the waterfall, you can fly to the tower, then you can go north to climb up the cliffs to get to the lake. It just takes a bit of time, and just know you can come across a Hinox and a Lino. But if you want to get the Zora armor, you get it by doing the Zora main quest. You can go to the right side of the waterfall, but it'll be easier to collect the dragon parts after if you get them from the left side, which I'll talk about in a bit. Also, the old farming location that people used to talk about is in the cave in the back. But to me, it's too far, making this method less efficient. The other argument may be that the cave does prevent the fire from being wet if it rains, not allowing you to make a fire, and also prevents Farosh from shocking Link with electricity. However, the spot to the left, of course it's closer to Farosh, and just put the fire under the tree leaves to prevent it from getting wet. I put the fire right at the corner of this little grass triangle thing, and then cut the leaf that's in the way of the camera. That's not necessary, but I like to do it. And if you're afraid of getting electrocuted, I used to say use shockproof dishes or the thunder helm or rubber gear, but honestly, you'll be doing the farming so fast it doesn't even matter. You won't get shocked. And if you don't have fire weapons, you can use flint, hit it with a metal weapon. Just know that you do have to use flint, so make sure you have enough if it's the beginning of the game. And as a reminder, the dragon will cause an updraft, so you don't need to make more fires for the updraft. This is probably the most important part. When you shoot Farosh or any other dragon, the part will sparkle. You do have to wait till the part starts to fly away. Then you can immediately sit down at the fire. You don't have to wait until the part hits the ground. However, if you sit at the fire before the part flies away, the part will be unpickupable. I don't know why this happens. Also, you can leave all the parts where they are, then continue the method as much as you want. Don't take too long to shoot Farosh or the parts will fly away somewhere farther away. If you continue to hit Farosh quickly, there are 4 spots they should land. These 2 spots on the same side that you're on of the lake, and the 2 spots on the other side. If the parts go farther away or down the cliff, just leave them. Now, I did say you can do this trick as much as you want, but just so you know, I tested this only once. I kept shooting Farosh more than 15 minutes and the parts stopped sparkling. I did that a few times and looks like the most parts that can be on the ground is 40. Again, I did only test this once, so maybe I'm wrong, you can try it yourself. And lastly, if you're using the horns for getting lots of rupees, you should get 7,200 rupees every 10 minutes. Farosh farming is one of the best methods for farming rupees. There are a few different methods, some with glitches and some without. Because it depends how far you are in the game and which parts you did unlock, watch both of these videos to see all the best ways to farm rupees. Part 1 does have glitches and Part 2 has other methods, and then I also rank all the methods all together. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you consider subscribing for more Zelda content, and I'll see you next time!